Greetings and salutations, it's theological introspection here. Here to start my new series of delving into the Bible. I'm not even going to call it questions anymore. I'm going to call it like a reading, a proper reading. So I can do some introspection of my own in a theological manner. That is the whole point of this channel in the first place. Sorry, my mic doesn't pick up the sound very well. So, this is the book I'll be using. Big old one, comes from 1954. Apparently it's like a royal copy or something, I don't know. It's awesome. So first I'll read the first chapter and then I'll go through a bunch of my thoughts. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Instantly, I think that maybe God has made a blueprint of the earth here. He's not actually made it yet. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let there be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth a living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. I didn't do that too badly, I hope. Now for my thoughts. 1-1. When was the beginning? When he started all this? It's not clear. The timeline isn't very clear. Earth formless and void. Darkness. Waters. What are all these terms? Do they actually mean what we think they mean? Or are they more metaphorical? Light and why it separates. It's kind of poetic, I think. It's going for the poetic separation of darkness and light. It's more than just actual light. Firmament is obviously well, you could think of the firmament as like the blueprint for the atmosphere, is where I was thinking, but it doesn't make sense why there might be lights and stars there. So I think it's more hinting at the sort of fabric that makes up space, possibly. And then he creates it literally. It kind of alludes that heaven is atmospheres. Heaven is out there. It's made of that fabric that everything is made of. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then he kind of sets the blueprint down for the earth. I don't think he's actually made these things yet, because it does go into detail about him actually doing the thing. And he focuses on him naming them. And it's at this point that we actually get introduced to plants. Which is kind of odd, in the sense that, like, we haven't got... Oh, have I skipped ahead too? Oh, I haven't. Yeah, he makes plants here, which... I can't read that. I'm a bit of a fool here. I gotta get reference. Oh, I see where I've messed up here. Yes, back before, he actually uses the waters to create waters, which kind of separates them from each other. It kind of creates this distinction that the waters isn't actually water. And then obviously dry land comes, that's pretty obvious. And then we get the plants, which is kind of you can kind of see it scientifically accurate, because the light's already there. You got the land, you got the water, you've got everything you kind of need for plants. In 1:14, he now establishes day and night. I should just do this by the Bible. I don't know why I bothered with this. And this is the reference. It's a better idea. And yeah, this is where, and 1:14 is where God puts the lights in the firmament, and he actually divides out the day and night here. And this is why I feel like there's two timelines. There's God's days, and then there's our days, which he's actually created now. Then he creates the two great lights, so the sun and the moon, and he sets them in their place, which people are like, oh, how can you have plants without the sun? It was like, you already had light there. Now he's just made it so that everything's starting to do the revolution thing. And it's up to 119 when we finish describing the patterns, that the way God makes the patterns in the sky. It doesn't even allude to the actual patterns itself, it just says God did it. And it's at 120 that we see the introduction of our first animals, which are birds and fish. The obvious scientific flaw here being the birds are coming before the animals, as they're birds most likely dinosaurs. But forgive Moses for maybe putting down something in a wrong order from the visions he was being shown by God. I do feel that there's not enough emphasis put on how hard it would be to convey God's actual message to the people. And he did it in his most poetic way, and we've translated it in the most poetic way, and I think there's a reason for that. And then he blesses them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Reproduction is a blessing given from God. The ability to give birth is a very early on blessing given very distinctly here. So the idea that nothing bred or nothing did anything like that in the garden, even Eden, kind of may be turned on its head depending on the way it actually gets framed out in the next chapter. And we see him do this for the living creatures as well. This is where the animals come in, kind of making the birds kind of a little bit iffy. And then once we get to 26, we see the creation of man. I find it interesting that it actually talks about the creation of man for a bit, but then it also makes the distinction to say he created male and female them. I really do think it implies that male and female are created equally, and in the eyes of God especially. There's no sort of better person here, and it's making that distinction. People may try to make the argument that later on down the track it does, but again, we'll see if that actually plays out, or if it's just not related to this part of the story, as this part of the story is more trying to set up humanity as a whole, I think. From then on, he talks about how he gives us dominion over all the living things, so a fair chunk of his creation. I also find it funny that towards the end, it's described that meat is akin to a leaf, a green leaf, so that it's all kind of vegan in a sense to man because of his dominion over it, and it's kind of a gift from God. And then he's pleased with his creation, as you would be. It's pretty gorgeous and beautiful in a lot of ways. So some things I noticed about this is atheists definitely try to frame this in a more negative light by glossing over the fact that this first chapter is actually the story of creation, and then they try to interject things from the second chapter into the first chapter which aren't there, and I think this is unfair. The first part is obviously poetic, it's obviously metaphorical, it's very much obviously, I feel, not written to be taken full literally, but I feel like there's gaps left enough or that you're allowed to fill them in yourself, and I think that's done on purpose. It's to bring the reader in, it's to really get you to want to know God, because he's putting himself on the table. He's like, this is what I've given you. In the end, these are all gifts. Life itself being the gift. The ability to create young being one of the focused on blessings, not just to us, but to all beings. And then the gifts that all those beings are, we are to be given dominion. And I find the distinction of dominion here also appealing to me, because it doesn't actually imply that I have no feelings for them. It just implies that I am on a greater standing than the animals, in a sense that I have the intellect, the gift of God. I'm special. I am compared to them, which we are even in an atheistic sense due to our intellect, although they argue that that's not actually very far. But I feel it's more of a spiritual thing where man is given a special place in its creation. It is given that one step better. Not a million steps better. They're not ants. They're not beneath us in that sense. Even ants aren't ants in this sense. So yes, I really did enjoy that, actually, to read it again. I read it a few times. Pretty much a lot of people know that part of the story, at least. And that's why this video probably won't be as long, because there's not as much to dig into if you actually sit back and read it for what it is, I think. Peace and respect to everyone. I hope many blessings are put upon all of you from God. Those of you who deserve it, and because you're following his path that he laid out before you. That was terrible. Anyways, latest.